Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Frame Game. Today we will be talking about the Square Enix conference. Now, this E3 presentation was decent, it wasn't as expansive as the Microsoft one, didn't have as many games, but it still went into depth on some of the games that we already knew about that I wanted to know more about, so that's very cool. And then they also had some new ones that looked very interesting, so let's get on with it. And the first one that we had was the Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now this is another one that, like I said, I wanted to know more about because they already showed it a little bit in like the Microsoft one and stuff. But this is very interesting. They added some new features that I'm actually very excited for, like new stealth combat. So there's more ways to dispatch of your enemies. One of them being like using those rope grappling arrows. To like you can shoot an enemy with the arrow and then pull them up into a tree and tie them up in the tree so that like other enemies and stuff don't see him. I think that is going to be really cool if they do it properly. It could be very handy to like pull enemies out of a group, and just make them disappear, kind of like how Batman does with his grappling hook. I don't know, it looked really, really cool. And then with the addition of that, they also had multi-stealth kills and stuff, classic stuff that you see in stealth games such as Assassin's Creed, where right when you're taking down one enemy, you can immediately look at another and take them out. It's probably going to be limited to only 2 or 3 enemies, That way you can't just go into a giant army and just stealth kill all of them at once. That'd be kind of cheaty. But aside from that, they had this part in the trailer where she's running up to an enemy, but she quickly throws mud on herself, like mud camouflage, so that either animals or humans can't smell her scent, / see her in the dark, and then she goes up and stealth kills them. So that's a new feature, as well as they called it becoming one with the jungle, all of this, and it showed a lot of her sidling along walls inside of bushes and stuff. So there's new ways to hide in bushes. There were a lot of bushes and floral stuff everywhere, so it gives for more chances of hiding and stealth killing compared to a lot of other games that are like big open areas, and it's like, how am I supposed to stealth kill anyone? But it looks like they're focusing more on the jungle aspect of this one. It's all about the Mayans or something, so they're in a big jungle. But aside from that, they also have arrows that seem to make enemies go mad or something. They turn enemies against themselves and they start killing their allies. So that's a lot of fun. I always loved berserker arrows and stuff in like Assassin's Creed games and stuff. You get the like berserker darts, I think is what they were called, and they made them go crazy and start attacking their allies. It's one of my favorite ways of dispatching my enemies, and so the fact that they added that in this new Tomb Raider game excites me quite a bit. But then they also had this thing where there was a gas canister, and Laura picks it up and then lights it preemptively, like it looks like she put some kind of cloth in it, lights the cloth, and then you can throw it before it explodes, essentially. So instead of shooting it from a distance with a fire or something, like you would see in most games, you just pick it up, light it, and then throw it, and before the enemies even know what's going on, before they see your arrow fly into it or something, they explode. And I like that a lot more than just pulling a gun or something and shooting a gas canister or gas barrel. In this case, you could actually pick it up, you can plan where you're going to throw it, wait for your enemies to get together, then quickly light it and launch it, so it seems like it'll be a lot easier to control how you're dispatching your enemies. It doesn't give your enemies a chance to disperse and run away like it would throwing a grenade or something. So it could be used very handily in a lot of different situations. Now, aside from this, they had this segment where like the developer talked about it for a little bit, and he mentions much more tombs that are larger and deadlier than ever before. So that sounds cool, but then they also have the largest hub area in any Tomb Raider game. That's essentially an entire town, so there might even be people living in it. I don't know, but they showed kind of an art picture of it, an art depiction. And then along with that, there are going to be new techniques involving like how you get around in the world with new grappling opportunities, along with wall running. Wall running sounds really cool. Almost sounds like they're adding some kind of parkour element to it. But then, this is cool. They have a more complex swimming system. So apparently it's going to involve like large underwater caverns, as well as a survival aspect to it. I'm not sure what that entails. They didn't say anything else. So, you know, hopefully it'll be interesting. I'm not expecting too much to change, but, you know, at least large underwater caverns, that could be really cool. But that was pretty much it for the Tomb Raider trailer and talks of it. Aside from that, they have this online Final Fantasy game, of course, as well as like a patch for their online game called, it's the Moonlight patch for Final Fantasy 15 or 16? I can't remember. I haven't been keeping up with the Final Fantasy online games. I've been playing the single player adventures, but I've never played any of the online ones, so I don't have much to say about it. I don't have the best knowledge of them. I don't know what the story is so far or anything. Apparently, like, they're all warriors of light or something, as far as the trailer said. And there's some kind of being who seems to be the major boss or something that death is a minor convenience for, so he's some kind of immortal or something. I don't know, that's what I got out of it. But that's all they really said, and then there was a bunch of gameplay footage of it, which, I mean, looked cool, but once again, I've never gotten into the Final Fantasy online scene, as it were. So, I just don't know much about it. I don't know what to say about it. Now, this is interesting to me. They showcased more of the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit. They had some of that in the Microsoft presentation. But with this one, they actually discussed how this game isn't just some offshoot. It's actually a part of the same expanded universe, and will actually be connected to the first game as well as the Life is Strange sequel, Life is Strange 2. So that sounds really cool that they're building this large expansive universe. But not only that, this The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit is going to be a 100% completely free game. So those of you who own Life is Strange or Life is Strange 2 know that there's a free game coming for you that is expanded to the entire universe, and even introduces some characters that will be in Life is Strange 2. So that's pretty cool. And the game is coming out June 26th, so you don't even have that long to wait for it. So yeah, some pretty good stuff coming out of there. Along with that, they showed the next Dragon Quest game, and I'm very excited for this. I love Dragon Quest. I had Dragon Quest on my 3DS. It was the one where your main character is essentially an angel, but he loses his wings and falls to Earth or something, and you have to get back. But this one is called Echoes of an Elusive Age, and it sounds like the main character might be some kind of a prince or something, and he's been cursed, I'm guessing, because there's this woman lady that's narrating the whole situation, and she says that she feels sorry for you, basically, that your entire life you've had no choice but to brush up against death constantly, like fighting these monsters constantly, as if they're like hunting your main character. And that sounds really cool. They could do a lot with that. But then there seems to be a collection aspect to it, as it's shown in the trailer as well, where the main character has like 7 orbs that they put onto these pedestals, and it unlocks some kind of rainbow bridge to who knows where. So that looks really cool, and it's coming out September 4th of 2018, and it sounds like they have a lot more customizational options with your characters and stuff, as the developers discussed over the video. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I love Dragon Quest games, and this one looks like a very big main game to the franchise that I'm just super excited for, because, I mean, previously they had like the Dragon Quest Builders game. That was a lot of fun, but it certainly didn't feel like a Dragon's Quest game. It was like its own separate, unique thing that I really hope to make a sequel for, because like I said, it was a lot of fun. But then they also had the Dragon Quest Warriors game, but they didn't really have any major new Dragon Quest title game to the franchise until now. So I'm really excited for this entry, and I just can't wait to see what it brings to the table. But on top of that, they also released some more Final Fantasy stuff that's once again looks to be online. But this is like a collaboration game? I don't know, it sounds interesting. It's Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and it's like some kind of collaboration game with like Monster Hunter or something, I believe it was. Or maybe, no, this was with Dragon Quest or something. I don't know. There was one that was with Monster Hunter collaboration, and another that was a collaboration with Dragon Quest, and that's just, I don't know, weird. I've never seen anything like that. I don't know how they're gonna do that. But yeah, they were like first collaboration and second collaboration. So I don't know what is going on with that, but I guess they're combining some of their franchises together? Oh right, here we go. There was a Monster Hunter world combined with Final Fantasy, but that was like a 40-second trailer, and it was almost instantly over. It was right after they showed the Moonlight patch. But then later on, they showed this Final Fantasy Brave Exvius that's a Dragon Quest collaboration. So, I don't know. It's interesting. It's weird. But that collaboration thing is coming out September of 2018. And the Monster Hunter one, I don't know if they said when it was coming out, but it was a crazy short snippet trailer that showed some Final Fantasy and some Monster Hunter World characters. So that's interesting. But then we had the Babylon's Fall gameplay, and this game looks, well, no gameplay. It was just like not even a trailer really. It was like art depictions that were shown with music, you know? And I don't know, it looks interesting. It's made by Platinum Games Incorporated for the PlayStation 4 and for Steam, so it's coming to PC. There is no word as to whether it'll be, you know, thrown onto the Switch or Xbox at all, but it might just be PlayStation 4 and Steam exclusive. But along with this, it looks really interesting. It depicts the fall of Babylon, and so it has some like real world historical events that we know of, I guess. Like, we don't know very much about it, but we do know some pieces of the fall of Babylon. And then they're also adding, of course, there's some, you know, made up events in order to make a cohesive game, which isn't surprising, of course. They have to fill in the gaps. But then during the trailer, they were showing like years of like moments of history that were happening, and it shows this warrior that's swinging down his sword onto another knight, and so it looks like some kind of action-y game. I don't want to say that it's like Dark Souls, but I get a similar vibe to it, of like some kind of really hard and challenging game. But there's really no telling. There was, like I said, there was no gameplay. There wasn't even a CG real like cinematic trailer even. So it's really hard to depict what this game is going to be. But I mean, it looks interesting, so I'm pretty excited to see more. They did have this thing at the end that said that there was going to be more shown later on, more to come type things, so we'll see more gameplay and stuff in the future. But until then, we're really left in the dark. Now, along with that, they showed Nier Automata. Now, I think this is the first game, but it's the Become as Gods edition. So this edition will include all the DLC of the previous game that, you know, came out on the Switch and Nintendo and stuff, but it's coming to the Microsoft Store for Xbox. So I think that was the big thing, is that it's the first time being revealed on Xbox One, and will be released on the 26th of this month. like crazy soon, so that's pretty exciting. But they didn't really say much more about that, just, it's coming to the Microsoft Store! So yeah, that's a thing. But along with that, they immediately showed after that Octopath Traveler. I mean, there's not much more to say about this game. They said a lot about it. There was even a demo that you could download and play. And that'll be available July 13th. I mean, it looks cool, just as always. I'm sure they only showed like a few second trailer, so I'm sure that's because they're probably going to show more during the Nintendo conference, which I haven't seen yet, so I'm still expecting to see more or hear more about it. But I'm not expecting a lot, because I know Smash Brothers, they teased that in the last Nintendo Direct, and so I'm fully expecting that to take up a majority of the Nintendo conference for sure. But yeah, that's definitely going to be unveiled, so I don't expect much out of the Octopath Traveler, but we will be getting the game soon, so I don't know how much more they could be talking about it anyway. But this next one that they showed, I'm really excited to talk about, and this is the Just Cause 4 game. Like I said, they did show some of Just Cause 4 and stuff in the Microsoft... Ew, sorry, hiccup. In the Microsoft video. But this one, they went into more detail of what that Storm engine is going to be like, what it's going to be about, and what Rico will have to deal with, as well as the NPCs. And it just sounds really cool. So, the return of Rico, this Just Cause 4 game, Rico returns in this fictional South American country. So it looks like there will be a lot more big open areas. They said that the game is their largest world ever made. It's a lot larger than the last game, apparently. And so it involves large varied cities along with large open plains, maybe even deserts and stuff, along with like temples and ancient civilizations. So this is by far the most varied Just Cause 4 world ever made. Like, already, there's a lot more scenery than has ever been depicted in the previous Just Cause game. And that is really cool. I'm super excited about that. But then, they're having these different scenic areas have these different, like I said, these deadly, like, physics engines with their storms that are coming through. Like, their tornadoes apparently are going to have the ability to level entire cities and destroy entire bridge to mere pieces of wood on the ground. So it's the destruction element with these tornadoes and stuff is going to be huge. But there's not only going to be tornadoes either. There's going to be deadly lightning storms that strike, set things on fire or whatever. And unpredictable sandstorms. And I'm hoping, because they say that Rico will have to contend with his environment, that it sounds like there will be more survival elements thrown in with the Just Cause destruction system. And that sounds really cool, because not only with sandstorms, but there's also going to be roaring blizzards, as they put it. So that sounds really cool. It has a lot of potential. I hope that it's done well, but you could see that they kind of incorporated it with your battle style, so you can essentially almost somehow use these events to your advantage. I don't know, at least they said so, that it would have a lot of sandbox elements to it, and it showed, like, Rico grappling things that were flying through the air being caught by these tornadoes, and that was really cool. But apparently they're also going to add more to the game, along with, like, vehicles. There's going to be bulldozers and wrecking balls and stuff, and they'll have more control of how you use those vehicles. It showed the bulldozer actually, like, you could lift up the front end of it, picking up cars and stuff and launching them aside, as well as, like I said, using a wrecking ball to destroy buildings and stuff. So that sounds really cool. But then they've also added more customization to Rico's grapple, making it more complex for returning gamers, as well as easier for like newcomers. I don't know how that's going to work. It sounds really interesting to say the least. But then on top of that, they're also going to have like this situation where, you know how you could grapple like 2 or 3 things at once? Well, they're going to have even more grappling capabilities where you can grapple like 6 or 7 things. And it showed this thing where it was like Rico's grapple was holding on to like 6 or 7 boxes, and there were separate grappling strings in between each one, and showed him at the top holding on to all of them. Like, it looked crazy. And then there's going to be booster rockets on the grapples, so you can attach grapples and stuff to the bottom of things, and then turn on the jet boosters and just launch stuff and it rocket propel it, and that just sounds like so much fun. I wonder if you can attach it to people again, but then just jet boost them around. I mean, you probably can, and it's going to add for all sorts of crazy stuff, because in the previous game you could grapple like onto buildings and then onto a person and then reel them in really fast and then immediately disconnect them so that people or cars and stuff would just go flying through the air. But now with the extended rockets, you might be able to launch them and fly them into the air and then attach another one to them and like shoot them with a jet and send it even farther than ever before. Like, it sounds legit. But then AI is going to be a lot more complex, and this I'm really excited about, because, you know, AI has always felt the same in like every single Just Cause game. But this time they're adding enemies that seem to have camouflage, invisibility, stealth systems, as well as the ability to use shields. It showed a bunch of enemies bringing down shields and like guarding their allies as they like peeked around the corner and shot Rico. So they're going to be a lot more challenging and a lot deadlier in your game experiences. Along with this, they have this new engine that allows for a further draw distance for people who, of course, have higher end graphics cards, which, of course, sounds really cool. My goodness, I'm dying. It sounds really cool. I'm hoping that it does, you know, build with the hype that the developers are giving it, that it'll be much further draw distance, but you never know. I mean, it might just be a tiny bit better, you know, like 10% increase, but we'll see. And of course, at the end of that, they said that it'll be coming out on December 4th of 2018, so, you know, the very tail end of the year, but not too surprising. This is a very expansive game. Looks like they have a lot more to do with it before it's fully ready to be released, and I'm sure they want everything to be running beautifully before releasing it, just like they did with Just Cause 3. They really seem to polish that game, and I hope that they continue that with Just Cause 4. Now, there are only 2 left, which were, I don't know, they didn't give us much about them or much new stuff about them. One of them being The Quiet Man. And I don't know, this game, it looks interesting, but it was just kind of a cinematic trailer. There wasn't much of it. They definitely depicted that it was going to be some kind of fighting game, but there was nothing else to really indicate what it was. I have no idea what it was. It was just some guy who looked like he was carrying some kind of takeout. And these guys are in an alleyway, and they're like, hey, we didn't order any takeout. And the main character seems to point at his ear as if he's deaf or something. I don't know. But then they get upset that he's not leaving, and they attack him, and he beats the crap out of them. The end. Like, I have no idea what this game is. But it's some kind of action game, and they said there's more to come in August. So more trailers and more gameplays. So that doesn't even have a release date. We have no idea what it is. And then following that was Kingdom Hearts 3. And of course we already saw a big trailer of this at Microsoft. And once again, they barely showed anything here at Square Enix. Like, it was almost the exact same trailer that they showed with Microsoft, with slightly different camera angles at different positions and stuff. So you saw more of some of the cities or worlds that they were in, which I thought was fun, but at the same time, it was nothing new, really. They once again showed Frozen and had the same scenes there. I don't know, there wasn't really much to add to it. I mean, and once again, there was portions of the trailer that didn't have any sound effects. They were missing their sound effects, like, you know, Sora hits someone with the Keyblade and it didn't make a single sound, and then he falls to the ground and that didn't make any sound. I'm starting to think that it might be because of the music, the song that was playing in the background. They didn't want to drown it out with battling sound effects or something. But it just felt weird and jarring, almost as if... I'm wondering if they just didn't have the sound effects, that it's just not complete yet. I don't know, it was very awkward and weird, but that is coming out January 29th, so not in too long, so I'd hope that they have all the sound effects already added in the game, and that was just so that you could hear the song, but we just don't know. But that was it, you know? That was all the games. It wasn't a huge press conference like Microsoft, but it wasn't small like EA. They still had a lot more. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. They have some really cool additions, as well as, like I said, they went into depth with some more of these games that I've been wanting to know more about, like the Just Cause 4 weather engine, as well as Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So I'm really looking forward to a lot of these games. I'd say it was a decent presentation. I'm going to give it about maybe a 7 out of 10, because like I said, a lot of these games we already knew about, we already saw trailers for, we already saw gameplay for in some of the other E3 presentations, so they were just adding on to it. And then some of these other games that were shown, their trailers were so brief and short and instant that we didn't really get to see anything about it. They didn't even really talk about it, so a lot of these games are also still left in the dark. So, I don't know, it wasn't the best presentation ever, but it was still really good. So, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Not the best, but not the worst. So, yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you for the next conference discussion / review.